So this is a side view of the broken down windmill on your grandpa's farm, and I wanted to point out a few of the parts. Here we have the blades of the windmill, which are connected to the central rod that is connected to a small gear, and a large gear is behind it. If we go ahead and come a little bit closer, here's our small gear, large gear behind it. Here's our yoke, and the missing arm, that metal arm, would attach to this rod that goes through the yoke, and it would also attach to this small rod that's connected to the large gear. So as I move this blade a little bit out of the way, you'd be able to see this connection point of the large gear. And as I move it back down, you can see there's going to be some sort of a conflict if this was a straight arm. Coming to a different view, we can go to an isometric view. We get a better idea of what everything looks like. Here's the blades of our windmill. Here's the yoke, and the yoke rod with the connection point, and here's the large gear with that rod and its connection point, and the blades are attached to the smaller gear. Now as the wind blows through these blades, you can see the small gear turns, and in turn it turns the large gear, and that rotation of that large gear, if that metal arm was attached, the metal arm transfers the rotational motion of the large gear to a vertical motion of our yoke, and that is what we're seeing right now. Now it's important for this yoke to go up and down. I'm going to go ahead and get a front view, because it is attached to a vertical pump that would go through the housing and then into the ground, and as this windmill turns that yoke up and down, it would pump the water from the ground into up to the surface to be used for irrigation or to give water to the animals on the farm. So it's an important part, this arm that's missing. Once again, here is that connection from here to here, and that is a important or a crucial part to allow the windmill to do its job in pumping the water up to the surface. One last thing that I want to take a look at is how the missing metal arm is connected to the other windmill components. So if we go ahead and look at that side view again, and we zoom up on this rod, the arm would sit in between the space between the yoke and the edge of this yoke rod. This indentation is where a retaining ring would be put in place. So the thickness of the arm for this particular connection is going to be between this point and then somewhere in this area. There will be additional information given to you when we are dimensioning this that will help you solidify that thickness of the arm on this connection. So that is connecting to the yoke arm. If we come over here to our large gear connection, here's the edge of our large gear, and then here is the indentation for another retaining ring, and the connection for that missing metal arm, the thickness of it would need to be between this line and then somewhere in here. Once again, we'll go ahead and make it a little bit more constrained as we put dimensions to it, but this would be the connection and the thickness of that arm at this point.